Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of Clipboards and Credentials with your host, Sir Joseph. Tonight, we meet a man of men, a man of mystery, a man of many religions, a man of many phrases, a man of many. We meet the Bossman. The question is, will he show? I sent him a link. He saw it, but he hasn't quite came into the restream to give it a try. Will he get cold feet? Will the clipboard be a little bit too much for him to handle? Shout out to Ep1 for the raid. Tonight, we fly like dragons and learn like professors. Tonight, the link won't work for me. What do you mean the link won't work for you? All you got to do is push it. The link won't work for you. Bossman, just click that link. It's pretty simple. Everybody knows how to do this. There's no way all of a sudden you don't know how to do it. This is embarrassing. I'm not changing anything, brother. StreamYard, I don't even have StreamYard anymore. All you gotta do is click that link I just sent you. Try the new one I just sent you. It's easy. It's the same thing as StreamYard. Oh, there he goes. Now we figured it out. What a lost soul this man is. Oh, let me turn this music off. Hello.
Hello.
There you are.
Bossman is in the hizzy.
I told you it was easy. I don't know why you didn't think you couldn't. We're going to have to use Discord. Are you serious? That would have fucked everything up.
Every time I pushed it, it would just be a blank screen. It wouldn't do anything. So finally, the last time I pushed it, it gave me options.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you're not doing camera, or Reverend Robbins wanted to know if you were going on camera.
I'm indisposed right now. Maybe in a little bit. But right
now, define indisposed, if you may. Well, indisposed, like you doing the show from like a porn site?
I'm in my underwear and
I'm indisposed. You knew you were doing an interview. You knew you were coming on the show at 8, so you decided to be indisposed around the hour that you were coming on here.
I will join the camera later.
That's embarrassing. The show is in the crapper already, says Frank. Rev Robin says, put some pants on, you bum. This is already better than Reverend, says Gonzo. I wouldn't say that, Gonzo. Let me see if we could, since we're just going to have Mr. Snyder's head, let me find a better, hold on. Where's my other one at? Guess we're going to have to use Old Faithful. We're going to have to go with Old Faithful. Bossman is out of his Proud Boys at the Trump rally. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in for the first time, for the dragons that are clicking on and wondering what's going on, tonight we're going to meet the Bossman. We're going to find out and dive into some of the things that makes the Bossman the Bossman. Bossman has no idea of the questions that will come from the clipboard tonight. But tonight, we will learn, well, at least I will learn what I need to learn about the man they call Bossman. Bossman, are you ready for this? There's already 22 people.
Bossman is ready. Yeah, Bossman's ready. And
right,
Bossman would like to say something first, that nothing is off limits. So fire away.
Yeah, Phil, if anybody has any questions, we'll try to highlight some of them. Reverend Robin says, piece of shit, nothing gonzo. Who did you ever beat? Decent. Like the comment, Rev. But Bossman, I've asked this question to many people, and I've always thought, you know what, this is a good way to start any kind of question. So, Bossman, we'll cut it down from 7. We'll go 5. In 5 words, describe yourself to the audience. Just 5 words. No phrases, no Bolinites, none of that. Just your own, just 5 words to describe yourself.
Let's see. An introvert.
Okay.
Extremely caring.
Tell people what that means, because I don't know what that means.
Like shy, very shy, withdrawn, not outgoing.
Okay.
Which may seem odd. Yeah.
Okay. Well done. Next word.
Very charitable toward the poor.
I said no phrases. So that would just be charitable?
Charitable. Yep.
Okay, you said very. We'll get into that. But all right, number 3.
Bipolar.
Is that 2 words or that's
1 word?
1?
Bipolar.
So does that put us up to 3 or 4?
That's 3.
Okay. Number 4?
Loyal.
And number 5?
Undeserving.
You sure that's 1 word?
Yep.
Okay. That's fair. Okay. So going on with the next one. This one's very important. Sorry about the dog. This one's very important how you answer it. 3 countries. Obviously, you're probably not traveling right now, but I need you to name 3 countries you would have liked to visit that aren't named America.
Israel.
Okay.
Germany.
Okay. Last one.
Probably Japan.
What's interesting about that is the 3 countries he named. I'll tell you guys why that's important later, but I already got them in one thing that's going to make a point I make here in a little bit real good. But okay, so we're going to start. We're going to kind of like ramp up a little bit, Bossman, but we're going to start light. Okay, so we're going to go the first 18 years of your life. What would you say? No, this is going to be easy. First 18 years, because I don't want you to look at it as a life thing. I want you to break it down because I know how your memory's everywhere. In the first 18 years of your life, what were your 3 best accomplishments, in your opinion?
Three best accomplishments.
Yes. In the first 18 years of your life. Let's go.
Surviving being neglected would be 1.
Okay. That's something you're proud of? Okay.
Extremely proud
of. Surviving? Now, when you say surviving being neglected, meaning you were like, You had a sword and you were fighting off people, or you just thought you would just die from being neglected?
Well, as a child, you're very, impressionable, and that's when you're learning how to be a human, a man. And if no one's there for you to teach you those things, then you may not turn out to be a good person, or you may not know how to live life. But I survived
Well, when
all
you
of that.
said surviving, you made it sound like you were fighting warlocks or something.
No, no, just being. I was very neglected by a parent. So just surviving
Okay.
through all that. Yeah.
What would be the second thing then?
My second accomplishment would be escaping um, from the state of West Virginia when I was
You said
17 years old.
escaping?
Correct. I moved to
Oh,
California on my own when I was 17.
nice. So now, when you said escaping, were you
Yeah.
like in somebody's clutches or?
Well, you could say that. Mentally, I was. Yeah. And my mother's. Yeah. Yeah. Very bad memories here. That's why I don't like to come back here.
All right, what's the third one?
And this is from up to 18, right?
Yes.
Up to 18. Um, boy, uh, I was a very good mentor toward a lot of young men, or young
As
kids.
a young man, you were a great mentor to young men as you
No,
were a
no,
young
no.
man.
I meant younger kids is what I meant. Yeah, and
So, what age did you start being a mentor at?
dude, I probably fourth or fifth grade actually, and I've had grown men come back to me over the
Rome,
past several years
we're not.
saying, "I really
Sorry, boss
appreciate what
man.
you did for me."
Rome, we're not on Discord. We're on Restream. You weren't kicked out of any chats. We're on Restream. All right. Well, with that being said, boss man, what would you say are the three worst things you did? One ages 1 through 18.
Boy, Bossman was not into a lot of um, really bad things. I mean, I stole things like every kid,
So
but
stealing is one. Then three
yeah,
things you weren't proud of as a grown-up kid. You didn't do nothing. You were a saint.
I was. I'm not gonna say was a saint, but like my parents asked me not to drink and drive their car, so I never did. I didn't go to parties, um, so I was pretty straight laced. I
So
did what my
nothing through 18. So you didn't do anything that you disapprove of in the first 18 years of your life, other than you
well,
stole a couple times. Would you steal?
cigarettes and tobacco, things like that.
And that's it. Other than that, saint, buy the Bible, all that shit.
Yeah, well, taking girls down in my basement when I was extremely young, getting their clothes off. I used to do that a lot. But
Jesus, I don't even want to ask their
I
ages.
would have got big trouble if I got caught doing that.
Holy fuck. I said 1 through 18. This was 18 you were doing this, huh?
No, much younger than that. Way too young.
All right. You got one more other than the women in the basement?
Um, no, dude, I was pretty straight laced, man. I was uh, I was really good.
What would your mom have said about you then? If you had to escape her, how
Oh,
did she view you?
she would tell everyone that I did nothing wrong. And that's how oblivious she was. But yeah,
Oh,
she thought I was perfect.
so she thought you were perfect and you had to escape from somebody you thought was perfect?
No, she wasn't perfect. Um, she's very but she neglected me. She never like the neighborhood kids would come in to my house, and she would go in her room with them and talk for them for an hour or two, and I would be sitting at the door, knocking on the door, can I come in? And then she'd be like, no, wait till
Who
I'm
would say
done.
no? She
My
would say
mom,
no, or your
my
friends would say
mom,
no?
my mom. And she
So
goes,
what
you can,
kind of friends? I don't understand. What kind of friends would come into your house and go talk to your mother and not you? I don't understand. What kind of friends are
well,
those?
just kids that were going through problems, and they wanted an adult to talk to. So
And
they
they
would be,
chose your mother?
yeah. So they would be talking to her for an hour or two, and I'd be sitting at the door wanting to
This
come in. Hey, let me finish. And then she'd say, well, when we're done, you can come in. So once that friend left, I would go in, and she would just say, you know what, get out of my room and leave me alone. Just get out.
Well, listen, but that's where I'm
So
that's where I'm lost at. Why would your friends come over, just talk to your mom, not hang out with you, and then you wanted to go talk to your mom after the kids? That sounds
yeah,
like some voodoo shit.
because I never got that attention. I never got any motherly bonding attention from her.
Well, you use the word neglect and escape in the same paragraph. So why would you have to escape somebody that's neglecting you?
Well, she was also very abusive mentally and emotionally. I never got
Well, see,
beat, but being neglected is very harmful to a child, Petchy. And a lot
all
of
right.
mind games and put downs. You can never do anything right, you know. So yeah, I told you that was a very sad part of my life. I didn't want to bring you down, but we should probably
No,
move on.
you didn't bring me down. I was just confused when you said escape. You said one of the things you were proud of was escaping, and then you said you were neglected. If someone was just ignoring you, what's there to escape from? You know what I mean? You just ignore them back. I
Well,
would think. I could be wrong there.
neglect from a parent is can be pretty devastating. But anyway, no, and to be honest with you, I never felt like I belonged here in this state. I went to California when I was 8 or 9 years old for the first time, and I felt at home. I was like,
Hello, Ruby.
this is where I belong. So I had my mind made up at a very young age that I was leaving this state and moving to California.
Were you known as Bossman when you were growing up?
No, no, I was known as
Tell, tell
I was
people where you
known.
got the Bossman nickname and why.
Okay, well, as a kid, I was known as Whiplash or
Okay,
Snidely
how'd you
Whiplash.
get that name?
There's a character on Dudley Do Right cartoon, the villain, called Snidely Whiplash, and
Okay.
my last name is Snyder, so people call me Snidely or Whiplash or both Snidely Whiplash. So those are my nicknames growing up.
Okay. Yeah, I've had a few. So,
Boss Man
so the
was
Bossman, what year did you get that?
probably around 2009, 2008. I became a supervisor at my former employer,
What,
and
and you guys were doing?
we worked in healthcare. And one of my employees called me boss one day, and it just kind of stuck. And on another team, there was a lady supervisor, and her team called her boss. So we had to make a difference there. So I was boss man, and she was boss. So
Well, I'll
yeah.
tell you where I'm lost at. You said this was healthcare. That's very vague. Like, what were you? The guy that handed out the thermometers?
Sorry.
Oh, you were?
Um, no, well, no. For the first 8 years, I was a nurse in oncology on the cancer floor. Then I hurt my back really bad. Then I had to get out of that, so I became a supervisor at the appointment center. So
Okay, so after the nurses where you got the name boss, because that would make no
yeah,
sense for them to call you a boss as a nurse.
no,
They would just call you nurse.
yeah. After I became a supervisor, they called me boss. Yep.
What the hell did you do at the supervisor spot? I'll tell you why I'm asking that in 1 second.
Oh, so I worked at the appointment center, which is it's a huge call center, like 200 people there answering phones. And their job was to take messages, book appointments, um, help patients navigate the whole system, the hospital, the insurance side, and all kind of different things. So I had a team of agents, about 25, and
And what
each,
made you the boss there?
well, there was like 10 supervisors. So I got hired as one. I wasn't the big boss. I had a boss above me, but
Okay.
yeah,
Well, we're trying to figure. Well, the reason why I asked is we're trying to figure out why they called you boss man. So you're saying it was because you were a supervisor
yeah,
at
I
a
was their
call center.
boss. Yeah.
Okay, so what? You had like 14 people on a phone, and you stood behind them walking, and you would look at each person. How did you
No,
supervise people at a
no,
call center?
I had 25, 25 to 30, and all their calls would be recorded. So you would have to monitor their calls, grade them on their calls. Um, I had to handle issues from the emergency nurse line that we had. I took care of a lot of angry doctors, a lot of angry patients. You can't describe the job very in a few minutes. There was so much to do. It was kind of overwhelming at times. But
Now, where I'm lost is you once told us that the people that called you boss said that you remind them of a Mexican in a white man's body. How the hell would they get that kind of perception of you as a Mexican at a goddamn supervisor place?
well, Mexicans can be supervisors, but
See how I
um,
got you? No, I know they can, but I want to know how you became known as a Mexican in a white man's body
okay,
from you said it
fair
was
enough.
from the people. If I'm,
Yep,
am I right or
yep,
am I wrong?
yep. No, you're right.
This is
Fair enough.
when we're
Good
about to
question.
find out where your dots connect here.
Yeah. So a large portion of my team uh, had Mexican heritage. Either they were born in Tijuana and came over, or their parents were from Mexico, something like that. And uh, the both of my wives were Mexican, so all my kids are half Mexican.
Well,
And
define Mexican. Straight Mexican, Mexican in like a when they go get their shit checked and it says, "Oh, I got 13% Korean in me" and all that shit. Were these
oh no, these
real
are
Mexican?
yeah, these
Like the
are
one that was in my house the other day, my
yeah,
mechanic, he's Mexican.
yeah, yeah. These are full on Mexican. Yeah, yeah. So and Bossman is only attracted to Mexican women. I'm not attracted to white women. It's nothing racist. I'm just not attracted to them.
No, yeah, we're gonna
And
dive into that. So your wife's a straight Mexican. If I were to look at your wife and they would say, "What do you think she is?" I'd probably say she might be Mexican.
yeah, yeah. Although my second wife did not like Mexicans at all, so it was kind of
But you
odd.
said they were both Mexican.
Yeah, but she does despises Mexican people. It's very weird. There are a lot of Mexicans in California that do not like Mexican people for some reason. I don't understand it, but it's just how it is.
So in this call center where you were the supervisor, you gave these people the impression why? Because you were already married at this time. They thought because your wife was Mexican, you were a white man in a Mexican's body. This is just where I'm
uh,
lost at.
no, no. So after my divorce, some of them would want to introduce me to their friends, and if they were white, I would tell them that I wasn't interested in white women. I'm just not attracted to them. But if they had any Mexican friends, sure, hook me up. And it just kind of spread across the whole floor that I only like Mexican women. And then they would talk to me about their culture, and I already knew everything about their culture. I could answer their questions. Um, and one of my agents said, "Boss, you are." She was a Mexican. She was, "Boss, you are a Mexican trapped in a white body. if I've ever seen it.
And
So
this
that's
was
how
at the
that.
call center?
Yeah.
How many people did you date from this place?
Oh, off on the record, I didn't date any, but off the record, yeah, Bossman was doing things he shouldn't have done.
What do you think
There's-
if someone asked your first wife to describe you, how would she describe you?
Probably
Would
a
she say it in
dirtbag.
Mexican or would she say it in English?
Oh, she'd say it in English, but yeah,
Okay.
she'd say I was a dirtbag. Was always into other women. Um, yeah, I was pretty bad back then. Um,
So you
she's
got married at the first time at what age? 22,
24.
24?
Yeah,
You
24.
paid for the wedding?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. But there
Oh, you did?
were,
You get married in front
yeah.
of a bunch of people or did you get married at like Vegas?
Oh, we went to Vegas with our families. Yeah, yeah.
Man, that was
I
just
wanted to
a
get
gag.
married. There's a Elvis impersonator that will marry you, but she wouldn't go for that. So anyway,
Well, did you have an American wedding or did you have a Mexican wedding?
American wedding, but a sort of Mexican reception. A lot of
So
Mexican food.
your first marriage, how long did that last? Year, 6 months?
10 years.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
10
10
years.
years. Yeah.
And you said you were the deciding factor on why that went bad?
Mm, officially, yes.
Because it feels like deep down she did something first to trigger your chain of bad behaviors.
No, this is what happened. Um, well, for one thing, she worked the day shift and I worked the afternoon shift. So we just passed each other. She would get home from work, I would go to work, and we chose to do that so that no one else would raise our children. We didn't want a babysitter all the time. So we kind of grew apart from each other. So we didn't see each other that often. And eventually, Bossman was unfaithful. I confessed that to her, and we worked through it. And she worked with me at this call center, and she got a promotion where she started working, um, building the doctor's schedules. Well, there was a young doctor who he wanted to always have his way with his schedule, so he would flirt with the um, people who made the schedules and tell them all kind of stuff. I could be with you forever and blah blah blah. So she believed it, and then all of a sudden she said, "I don't forgive you. I want a divorce," because she was convinced that this doctor was going to marry her. So he
She
used
was
her.
probably already with that doctor for a long time and
Well,
you just
well,
never
no, no, I
snipped.
no, I caught it fairly quickly. I snooped around, which I probably shouldn't have, and I found out the truth and confronted her. But yeah, she was sleeping with him, and I couldn't compete with a doctor. If you're looking at me and we own a small 1,200-foot house, and this doctor lives in a high rise downtown, drives a nice car, is single, good looking. I couldn't compete against that. So there was nothing I could do. I couldn't win her back. So yeah, we in divorce, and she never got with the doctor other than sleeping with him. So
That's getting with the doctor. The doctor
yeah,
won there.
no, I mean
Uh,
she thought she was going to be married to him, and I tried
how
to
many
warn her.
languages do you speak? Just one?
What's that?
Just one
Just one what?
language. How many languages do you speak?
Oh, me. I speak English, of course, and some Spanish. Not a whole lot, but
In
some.
the beginning of the show, you gave me 3 countries you would like to visit. How come one of them wasn't Mexico?
I've been to Mexico. I live 15 minutes from Mexico.
All right, I'll let you live on that one. I was like, this guy says he's Mexican, and he didn't even name Mexico in the 3 places he would like to go to.
I've been there many times.
Pizza Mike wanted to know, why do you talk? That's a good question. I'll ask that one. How come you're talking third person? When did that start?
Um, it actually started in your chat when I first came over. Yeah,
Okay, so it
just a
started there.
stick. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
had
and
to
it's
stand out, because
and Boss Man, I guess, really likes wrestling. You do you consider yourself a big wrestling fan, Boss
oh,
Man?
I'm a historian. I know a lot about wrestling. Yeah.
Tell the people out there your three favorite wrestlers, just so they know. Not everyone knows.
Mm, wow. So number one would be Ric Flair.
Okay.
Number
Are you
two,
is that because of the way he used to get with all the women? You kind of were into that?
I just he was just when I first started watching, he had just become the world champ in '81, and he was so arrogant and easy to hate. Um, it just it just kind of drew me in. I didn't know anything about the women then, but he just knew how to get under your skin, and you hated him, and it was just cool. I thought that he could do that because I knew wrestling wasn't real, but I thought the way he can make me so angry, knowing that this isn't even real, the guy's got talent.
So you said Flair, who's the second,
Roddy Piper, hands down.
and third.
Wow, that's a really tough one. I'm going to go with Don Morocco, and a lot of people probably don't know him. He went by the Magnificent Morocco, and then he became The Rock before The Rock was The Rock. You might know him from the mid to late '80s. I'm not sure.
Chris Schmidt wanted to know, and I guess you could say everybody, but remember when you asked Chris Schmidt, do they serve white people food at
Yep.
his restaurant?
No, no, no.
Um,
That's not what I said. Like he was talking about opening a food truck, and I said, "Are you going to serve something different, or
where did
just
you learn
regular
the
white
term?
people food?"
Where did you learn the term white people food?
From the Mexican people I hung out with,
And
they
I'm
would
still
say
confused what white people food is. What is it exactly? Is it hamburger, hot dog?
stuff you would like pot roast, um, scalloped potatoes, macaroni and cheese, anything you would get over in England, you know, Welsh rabbit or
Any,
that kind of
so you
crap.
don't have an actual name of a food. You just call it white people food. And then when they say, what's white people food? Everything in England, horseradish. I was hoping you had a good explanation, and
Well,
Schmidt was hoping.
things that aren't ethnic foods, basically. So I wouldn't say lasagna is white people food. That's Italian food, right?
I just have never heard that word before
Yeah,
until
I
you
hear it
said
all the
it.
time. I hear it all the time.
That's crazy. And this is a California thing.
I suppose, yeah. If you haven't heard it, yeah, and the audience hasn't heard it, but yeah, all the Mexicans say, "Oh, that's white people food," or well, not all of them, but a lot of them, or they'll say, um, "That's what happens when white people try to make Mexican food. They mess it up, or it, it's just
Yeah,
different."
Alvin Marin wanted to know at what age did you start correcting people's sentences and what's your infatuation with grammar error? Is that just another
Um,
stick?
yeah, it's just like when we got first came MySpace and then Facebook and all these the social media. I could not believe how people didn't know how to spell certain things, like the difference between there, and there. There's three there's, and they wouldn't use them correctly. And I was like, man, it totally changes the meaning of the whole sentence. It's you can't be this stupid. So it just really grated me. So I would even correct people at work on emails. because it was embarrassing
Just
to
to
me.
mean or not, the English says when people say white people food, they mean unseasoned food.
That could
Um,
be. Yeah, that's a
Also,
good way of saying it.
Mike Pucci want to know: did your love of Trump come from the show The Apprentice or his run as president?
Well,
Hey, hold on, I
I
gotta take this
can.
phone call real quick.
Yeah.
Hello, sorry about
Okay.
that.
Yep. No problem. So I can honestly say that I've never seen 2 seconds of The Apprentice, so I wouldn't even know what that show was about. And although I do know he would say you're fired, so I assume they were working for him. But I never voted for Trump either time. I think Donald Trump, the person, is a horrible man. But I think as president, he did, or at least tried to do, what he felt was right for the common man in
Hello,
America.
Joanna.
And I think he did, for the most part, the right things. But I never voted for him.
Um,
I didn't vote for Hillary or either or
Mike
Biden.
Pucci, Mike Pucci wanted to know what was in the letter you wrote to Bolin, and then I'll ask the other questions I have.
It wasn't a letter; it was an email, and it just said the title was from a former listener, and it said, "Hey, I heard you're in the hospital. Um, I know we no longer talk to each other, but I wanted to wish you well and let you know that I'm praying for you." And that was about it. Yeah, never begged to come back on the show like he said. Then he
How did you feel?
responded.
How did? Oh wait, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
And he responded with this huge thing, thanking me and wanted me to come back on the show and donate more. And then I never responded.
Donate more.
I never
That's great.
responded back to him. And then he sent me another one saying, "I guess you didn't read my email." And I responded back saying, "Oh yeah, I did see it. I forgot to reply." And yeah, but yeah,
We do have a very close friend of yours. No joke. I mean, friend of the show, of course. He might come on. He had a couple questions.
yeah,
Reverend
Jacob.
Robin might join
Oh,
us.
okay. I know Jacob was going
Uh,
to also.
yeah, I did. I never heard back from Jacob.
I talked to him last night. He said he would pop in.
Um, the other thing was, what was the two biggest regrets in your adult life, if you could change them, and why?
Oh boy. Um,
Just give us two.
Not being the best father I could be, and um, becoming a supervisor. Those are my two
Becoming
biggest
a
regrets.
supervisor of the 14 people that called you a Mexican?
Yeah, because a lot of the people because you weren't just in charge of your people. Sometimes you were in charge of the whole 250 people because everyone else was gone. And all these millennials that we hired, you couldn't even look at them wrong, and they'd start crying and run to the boss and say, David looked at me and he looked at me wrong, and you know, and then I would get in trouble, and it was dealing with them was just too much. And I was so happy when I had to retire because of my medical situation. I'm so much better off mentally than I was then.
Real quick, Alvin Marin says, "What's your thoughts on donating to Bolin? Do you believe in his cause?"
Um, I would like to think that he sends the money, whether he keeps some or not. I don't know. Some people are convinced
You're
he
saying
keeps
all
it
your
all.
donations were meant to be donated; they weren't meant for him.
No, they were meant for donations to the poor people.
How'd you
Um,
come across Ken Bolin?
Sorry, same way as you through Jimmy, and I went on his show one night, and I got blocked the very first night I was on there. I forget the guy's name. Was there someone like a JJ something that
Harwood.
was yeah? He blocked me the first night I was on
Shout
in
out
the
to
chat.
JJ Harwood.
Yeah, he said this Bossman guy has to go, and they blocked me. And and I had to message Kenny to get him to unblock me.
And you have no police charges in your adult life. You haven't done any crimes that you regret. You've just been a saint this whole time.
Well, it's pretty funny, um, as you know, and people who've been listening any amount of time. Bossman was a pretty heavy, hardcore alcoholic. Um, I would drink 7 or 8 Long Islands after work at 5 p.m. and get home around 11, driving, which I shouldn't have been. But one Sunday, I went to the bar around noon, and I had one Long Island at noon, and then about 3, I had a second one, and that's all I had the whole day. And this bartender came in at 6 o'clock every Sunday, and her and I did not get along. So I got up to tell her. I went around telling everyone goodbye, and this lady who I'd never seen before, she turns around and she goes, "Oh my, who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm David." And she goes, "Oh, I like you." And she grabs me around the neck and takes me out to the back patio. I'm like, crap, what is this? So she starts like grabbing me, trying to make out with me. And it turns out she had been in another bar and was too drunk to drive. And this bartender that I didn't like sent her friend to pick this girl up. So they all start yelling at me, saying that I was taking advantage of her. I'm like, dude, she grabbed me and brought me out here. So I told him to screw off. I called the um, bartender a cunt, and I was yelling at everybody, and I left. Well, someone who was extremely anti Semitic didn't like me, and she called the cops. Well, I walked down to 7-Eleven. I came back up to the bar to go to my car, and the cops throw me on the ground and arrest me for public intoxication. And I demanded a breathalyzer, and they refused to give it to me. And they said, "You're lucky we're not arresting you on sexual assault charges." I'm like, sexual assault? Dude, watch the video. You can see. So they 86'd me out of there, and I got thrown in the trunk tank. Um, and I was so pissed off, I yelled at the cop the entire way. And he told the dude, the sheriff at the intake, he goes, "This guy is so out of control, he cannot be with anybody." So they gave me my own cell and kept me away from everybody because they thought I was going to go off. And yeah, I had to call my son on, it was President's Day. I had to call him and tell him I was in jail to come pick me up. I had to miss work. So I
You
was
once
arrested
told
one time.
you once told Chris. I see you in the back to our guest. Give me 1 second. I'll punch you in. We do have a special guest tonight. He's going to come in and ask you a couple questions as well.
Sure.
But real quick, you once told Chris Schmidt. I don't want you to joke about this because I mean, if it was just a joke, you could say it or whatever. You said that you did not want your kids dating white people. Would you like to
Yes.
elaborate on that?
Um, See, especially in my family, and I notice it in a lot of families that are, I'm not going to say just white, but um, family doesn't mean a lot to these people. They're always mad at each other. They don't get together. And one thing I fell in love with, because I just told you how I was treated as a child. One thing I fell in love with the Mexican people when I moved to California is their sense of family. It doesn't matter, even if one's mad at the other one, if someone hurts that family member, they're all there to rally around them and help them. And the love that they have for each other is unreal. And I've just always admired that because I never got that. And I wanted my kids to have kids who would experience that type of love and not get involved with a family that may not do that. So my son is now with a white girl, and they don't talk to her mom, and they're always fighting. So it just worked out that way. My daughter is dating a guy who is um, half Mexican, and his family's very close. They get together once a week for dinner. So I'm very happy that she's part of that family. and my son in Wisconsin, who is Mexican, of course, he married into the girl that he dated here in San Diego before they moved to Wisconsin. She's
So if your
Mexican.
wives are Mexicans, then your kids are Mexican. You never told us that.
Yeah, my kids are all half Mexican. Yeah, yeah,
You never told us that. Funny.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, I
Well,
just love the family bond that they have. I'm so impressed with it, and it means so much to them. It could be a third or fourth cousin, and you would think they were brother and sister. The way they help each other and care for each other, it's something that I always wanted and never got
so basically, you wanted your kids to stay away from the white people, is what you were saying.
because of my experience with them. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Reverend Robbins. Well, boss man, the only thing when I hear your story that comes across a little wavy to me, a man of ears and listening, is them saying they referred to you as a Mexican in a white man's body. That part's a little shaky for me. I don't understand. I never got that impression in my entire life.
Well, you don't know me.
Uh,
You've never met me.
and
But
I'm
it
assuming
just
if we saw pictures of your wife, is it true your ex-wife left you for the guy at the scientist or whatever? Your second wife. Didn't she leave you for like
no,
a sailor or a pirate or
no,
something?
no, no. She again, it was Bossman's fault. Bossman fell in love with a Mexican lady at work. We both fell in love with each other, and we never had a physical relationship, but we had an emotional relationship that lasted 10 years. And it was very damaging because you can't love two people at the same time. So I neglected my second wife, who was a very good woman. I regret it a lot that we broke up.
Hey, Jacob
And
Waters said, shout out to nurses, male nurses everywhere. This guy said he was a boss. He was a nurse. We should call him Nurse Man.
I was only a nurse for the first 8 years. Then I let my license expire. I didn't like that job.
Reverend, do a sound check so we can see your sound check. Jay Walks, my bad if you got blocked or whatever. Oh, shit, Reverend. Well, believe it or not, that covers.
So anyway, these were Mexican people saying, "Oh my gosh, boss, you sound like a
Mm,
Mexican all the time. You are a Mexican trapped in a white body." I didn't say that. These were
mm,
Mexican people that said that. So it may not make
okay.
sense to you, but you know that's what they always told me. They would laugh. They'd say, "You were born in the wrong skin," and
Okay.
it's just because I just love the Mexican people. I love. I've never seen anyone work as hard as them. When you go hire these guys at Home Depot, it's embarrassing. Their work ethic versus our work ethic here in this country. It's absolutely embarrassing.
How many
They
times have you been to Home Depot and hired people
oh, several. Yeah.
to be a nurse?
No, no, no. To do work around the house, mow grass, dig ditches, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Hardest working people.
Wait a minute. So listen. So you need a hole dug up. You say, you know what? I'm gonna go to Home Depot and get me some Mexicans.
Well, there's day workers there uh, at the Home Depot every morning, and they're not just Mexican. There's whites, blacks, Asians, and of everyone we've ever hired, they're all worthless except the Mexican workers. I mean, they go above and beyond. But just for a real quick example, my cousin owned a food truck like what Schmidt wants to do, and the person at the end of the shift always had to clean the hood. Well, everyone would just wipe out the outside of the hood and kind of wipe on the inside. If it was the Mexican guy working, he took the hood off and he scrubbed every inch of that hood every single day. It took him forever because no one does that. But he always went above and beyond of what he
I
needed
wish
to
my
do.
Home Depot was like that.
Hey, I worked with a guy, a good friend of mine, who he was so embarrassed or not embarrassed. He felt so bad as how hard they were working. He went out in his yard and started helping them. He goes, man, I can't let you guys work this hard.
Basically, Bossman said when he would go up to Home Depot and on his way to go get a lawnmower or a rake, something to do his yard, he would just stop and hire a Mexican to do it.
Well, Bossman mowed his own grass and all that. But when we needed some heavy duty work done, you always go to Home Depot and hire the Mexican workers. They're have a very strong work ethic. They break their balls for you, and they're very appreciative. They thank you and thank you and thank you for hiring them.
Reverend, let's get a sound check real quick. Reverend?
Hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
You sound great.
We can hear you.
Hey, Reverend, you sound great. Real quick before we get to you, Jacob Waters put, wow, I never knew the side of you, boss man, generalizing a whole group of people. Reverend, go ahead. And, the floor is yours. If you got a few questions for boss man, go ahead.
Well, I don't think generalizing in a good way is bad. Of course, there's bad ones too, but I'm just talking about the good experiences I've had.
Hello, everybody. My name's Jason. I'm actually known as the Rev Robbins around here, and I'm here representing white people.
Jason, do not try to steal the show from Bossman. Come on.
I'm here representing white people who Bossman has offended the entire group of us. And we want you to turn in your white card.
What's that?
Hey, Rev, Bossman would gladly turn in his white card.
Why would you show up to the interview naked?
Well, I'm getting ready to turn my camera.
In a situation where we wanted you to come on camera. Most of the people come on camera. Even Rev Robbins is on camera.
Pesci, I just finished what I was doing. I just got my lighting the way I wanted. Just wait. I just got the lighting the way I wanted it, and I'm getting ready to turn my camera on. That's what I was doing.
Oh, boom. There he is. All right. Look at Reverend. All right, Reverend, go ahead with
hell.
Go ahead with your first question, Reverend. You look great, boss man.
Thank you.
He got the lighting right. We need boss man in a studio.
He didn't get the lighting right. No, we don't. So, I guess my first question, boss man, since with the profile there you got.
I got a big nose.
What is the where did your fascination and infatuation with our heavyweight hero, the mouth of the whole Southeast and the West Coast, the larger than life and larger than most swimming pools, Kenny Bolin? Where did your infatuation come from him? When did you become a Bolinite, I guess, to where you, I assume, have donated hundreds of dollars, if not thousands?
Well, I started listening.
What?
I started listening just before Pesci's show, Pesci's first show with Bolin. I discovered Bolin by listening to old Jim Cornette clips on the Arcadian Vanguard channel. When Bolin would come on Jimmy's show, and you thought they were in two totally different places, but they were in the same house in just different rooms. Alice, I think, was the co-host at that time. And I thought they did a good job. I thought their shtick was funny. So I looked him up and found his show, and I started listening. And at first it was, so-so. But then these guys started popping in. Pesci, Chris Schmidt would come on with his pink lamp, flamingo lamp, and it started becoming funny. So I was listening, and I didn't know anything about the kind of the split. I knew Pesci was no longer around, but it took me a while to find Pesci's channel because I didn't know it was under Sir Joseph Pesci. Every time I looked for it, it would just bring up Joe Pesci, the actor. So I was a little late getting to that channel, but I don't know if you were listening. I got banned the very first night I was in Bolin's chat. J.J. Arwood blocked me. So I wasn't infatuated with him. I did believe that he was actually sending rice and donations over to the Philippines. And I still believe he does for the most part. Whether he keeps them or not, I don't know. But here's the way I look at it, Rev. And I argue this with a lot of people at my church. They say, oh, we don't give money to homeless people because they might buy alcohol. And I say, well, that's not your problem. That's between them and God. God tells you to be generous to the poor. So give them the money. What they do with it is their business. And they don't like me there. They think I'm a liberal at my church. They think I'm, a Biden supporter. So, yeah. So that's why I donated to Kenny, because I thought that he really was doing good. But then, like Pesci said, when it started being, oh, we need to get a motorcycle and a prom dress and a birthday party, it was like, wait a minute. This isn't what I was donating to.
Surprise!
Yeah. So then I quit donating, and eventually he blocked me, and yeah.
Go on, Reverend.
Well, that's a good answer, and I really appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
I found him the same way. Listening to old Cornette, and I thought, hey, that guy's pretty funny.
Well,
But I remember always hearing Cornette talk about, how much of a scam artist he was, and then, we later find out. I mean, you can't be mad at a bear for being a bear and mauling you. I mean, so man, it's just a bear, but.
Yes, Barkley.
I guess
I go to church on Sundays, Barkley.
So, boss man, here you go. Here's a good one for you. I don't think we've discussed this because I was eating through half the show, so I might not have heard most of it. But you're a West Virginia boy. What made you choose? What made you choose to go to the? You talk about you're not a liberal, but what made you choose to go to the liberal capital of the world? I know why that old dickbag Barkley's over there, because he's Antifa guy. But what made you want to go to that damn godforsaken land out west?
Good question, Rev. So when I was 8 or 9 years old, it was either 78 or 79. My dad, my mother, and myself, we went to San Diego to visit my dad's sister, her husband, and my cousin. And we flew in back then. For some reason, we flew into LAX, and at night, and just seeing all the lights of LA and the traffic, and I was like mesmerized because there was nothing like that in West Virginia. My town had 16,000 people in it. So we get to San Diego, and the weather's perfect. It's not humid. It's like 70 degrees. We're out swimming every day, going to the beach. And although the water temperature is like 60 degrees in the summer, very cold. But we went to Disneyland and Universal Studios. We went to Mexico, all kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, this is where I belong. I don't belong. And I never felt like I belonged in West Virginia. I had nothing in common with people here. And I made a decision, I think, when I was in 4th grade, that I was moving to San Diego as soon as I graduated. And there were more things to it. I had a very, I didn't have I'm not going to say I had the worst childhood. I had everything I wanted except love and attention from my mother. So I needed to get away from her. And that was the furthest I could go. So I moved out there when I was 17. And back then, Rev, there was a Republican governor. We elected another Republican governor, the mayor of San Diego, Pete Wilson. And it was nothing like it is today. It's a very sad turn of events that has happened over the past, since probably, what would you say, Barkley, 94? 95, maybe 96, somewhere around there. Probably 96. Things started getting bad. They voted for a proposition that would ban. like illegals. They wanted to send them all back to Mexico, and it really turned the state into a liberal haven. So they really ruined a beautiful state that I fell in love with. Even up where Berkeley is, it's a beautiful place. Horrible politics, but California is a beautiful state, Rev. But you're right; it is a liberal haven now, and Bossman just doesn't fit in with them politically. But I can't see myself ever moving from there.
So you weren't a Schwarzenegger fan?
Um, he's a liberal, really. He's like a conservative liberal. But he was way better than the person he replaced, Gray Davis.
Jacob Waters, real quick, says, "Is Ron Burgundy your favorite anchorman? Also, are you the only Republican left?"
Okay, so first one, Jacob, I've never seen that movie, and I have no idea what it's really about, other than it's based in San Diego. Bossman doesn't really watch movies, and I'm not a Republican, believe it or not. Um, in fact, I had become a libertarian, but over the past several years, um, God has made an impression on my heart that Christians should not be involved in politics at all. So I'm not really involved in political stuff anymore.
You tell that to Pat Roberts.
What's that?
And I said, you tell that to Pat Robertson and John Hagee.
Well, Pat Robertson's dead, so yeah, those guys were wrong, and I was wrong too. That was never. I was never. I'm ashamed of what I used to do politically. Yeah.
Why do you think Kenny Bolin referred to as a mentally ill mother effer?
I think because one time we talked offline about someone very close to him and his family that has a mental illness and was suicidal. And I confided in him that I have suffered from mental illness for many years. And and that
you
I've
never show Bolin your cards, man. He fucking used them right against you.
and that I've been suicidal since I was 5 years old. I used to pray to God to take me away and let some sick cancer patient live.
Damn.
That's how miserable I was as a child here. Not to bring everybody down. Don't worry about me. I mean, I don't have a plan. I don't have a knife in my hand, but I pray that a lot. Take me. I'm ready to go.
Tonight's show is sponsored by Pepsi.
Reverend,
Fuck you, Popeyes.
Reverend, in 3 words, how would you describe Bossman since you've known him? In just 3 words.
You say whatever you want, Rev. You can't offend me. You can't offend me, and I hold nothing
Let's
against
see.
you.
Let's see. The 3 words I would use to describe Bossman. Very opinionated. Let's see. Probably sometimes a little overbearing.
If the chat wants to put their 3 words
And,
in to describe Bossman, go ahead. Poochie, Barkley, Alvin.
And I'll throw you a bone on this one. The 3rd one I would say would probably be knowledgeable. I'll give you knowledgeable.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks
You've
for being honest.
time. You a long time.
All right, now let's put this little spin on it.
I love you, Rev.
Smartest thing you ever heard Bossman say, and the dumbest.
God, I ain't gonna put me on the spot. Smartest thing I've ever heard Bossman say.
I was trying to think of one.
Jeez. I'm trying to think of one, man. Like, Oh, you told me to go. You told me to bet on San Francisco, so that
There you
was
go. Hey, I'm undefeated,
you had
Rev.
a good
I'm
you had a good
undefeated.
feeling about that one.
Jacob Water said helpful, confident, and interested. Alvin Marin said smart, stubborn, and questionable. I agree with questionable. Bill Bones says argumentative. Bossman is curious, intelligence, and paranoid. And Mike Pucci said Bossman is a good person. Rev, you look great. You've been working out, says Mike Pucci. um, Gonzo said Rev looking slim. I would have to say for me, smartest thing, dumbest thing. Dumbest thing for me will always be white people food. Smartest thing boss man ever said that I was see my I don't want to say I have bad memory, but I only remember the real good shit. I don't know what to come back to me on that. Smartest thing boss man said.
Mike Pucci said I bust his balls more than anyone. He's a good sport. Being
River got
boss
that
man.
2003 Eminem fade. I'm crying, says Barkley. I used to get my hair cut like that, Barkley, before I went bald. Gonzo asked, "Are you bald by choice?"
Boss man? Sort of. I back in 2005 or six, my son had to lose 30 pounds in a month to make football weight. So I told him that if he did, I would shave my head. So he did. He lost 30 pounds in a month, and I shaved my head, and I really liked it. So I just kept it that way. But now I'm so thin that this all appears very thin, and then back here where I wear my yarmulke is completely bald.
On that, real quick. Speaking of yarmulkes, I think Schmidt. I wish Schmidt would be in here, but I know he wanted me to ask you, how did you become double religion? So you say don't call me a Christian, but you always go to the Christian church.
No, 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 no. I never said don't call me a Christian. I said that my rabbi's father wrote a book.
No, you said
They're
Pesci, don't call me a Christian. That's Barkley.
No, I never said that. I said, Barkley, I'm sending you a book called Don't Call Me a Christian, written by a Messianic
Oh,
Jew, and they don't consider themselves Christians. They consider themselves complete Jews. But
so you just
they
decided to
know.
go double religion one day.
No, no, we found out that my ancestors were Jewish, and we went to a Messianic synagogue years ago, really liked it, and that's another group of people I'm very fascinated with. And I just enjoy going. And I've learned a lot from the rabbi, and keeps me out of trouble. Yep.
Now, Reverend, is Bossman the
Um,
first Jewish Christian you ever met?
no, I've met a couple. I've met a couple. I don't know, man. I always interpreted and understood the Jews for Jesus as just another sect of Pentecostalism that because I mean that's like the main evangelizers who it was like usually uh, affiliated with the Methodists or some form of Pentecostals that were evangelizing to Israel,
I've
and
never
that's kind of
heard.
where it spun off from.
I've never heard that they were Pentecostal. There might be some that
Yeah,
are,
no,
but I've never heard.
so so a lot of that,
Hello,
a lot
Andrew,
of
man.
the evangelizing to the Jews, because that's how it is in Revelation. So that go to all the world and preach the gospel. But that's that come around. A lot of that come around when in the early 19th century when the great schism happened when Azula Street and all that.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
Because
talk offline, bro, about this because we could get on a whole and I don't think everyone wants to hear all
Well,
this. So.
yeah.
Oh, there
And
it
then
is.
can we back up to who was it that said I thought you wanted Trump to build the wall?
Yeah.
Who said that? That was Mike Pucci. Mike, I have a very difficult time with the whole immigration thing. I realize that coming across illegally is wrong as far as breaking the law. But as I said before, they're such hardworking people just looking for a better life. And so many of them do the jobs that Americans won't do. I'm not going
Why
to go
did
out.
you? What were the 3 things you liked about Hillary Clinton that made you vote for her?
I never voted for Hillary.
Also, that year you just didn't vote.
No, I voted. I didn't vote for Trump or Hillary, and I didn't vote for Biden. I voted Libertarian every time.
I don't know what that means. Is that a person?
Libertarian, it's like Republicans,
I'm saying if
Democrats,
Hillary and Trump
Libertarians.
were the ones running, who did you vote for?
There's more
Gary
than
Johnson, wasn't it?
there's more than 2 people that run for president. Patsy. It's just they don't get on the stage to debate. They won't let them on. Yeah.
It's a rigged
A
system.
libertarian is kind of a mixture between the two. I don't agree with everything they stand for, but I agree with a lot.
Yeah, someone who had no chance of winning. That's interesting, Bossman. You, with your legs and your athletic ability, you would go vote for someone that you knew wasn't going to win.
Well, I'm not at the horse track, Pesci. I'm not trying to pick the winner. I'm voting my conscience. If I didn't vote my conscience, like they say, well, you got to pick the lesser of 2 evils. Well, it's still evil that you're picking. I don't want to pick evil. I want to pick someone who cares about the country.
Well, name 2 things you didn't like about Hillary since you didn't vote for her.
Oh my gosh, dude! I mean, I couldn't name 2 things I like about her. So,
okay, name 2 things you hate about her.
Well, she's a liberal. She wants socialist policies implemented, and now she's talking about re-education camps where she wants to put Trump voters in camps to basically brainwash them into hating Donald Trump. So, like Jacob Waters just said, sometimes you don't want to vote for the shittiest or shiniest turd.
Barkley said there's actually 12 people on the ballot.
Usually, yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of different parties. The Green Party, the Peace and Freedom Party. There's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't want to vote for the shiniest turd, says Jacob Waters. You have anything to add to that, Reverend? Or
Well, as a registered Republican since 2004, I've always went with the Red Party because I've always been taught that they're the one, and it's more on a local level. I agree with my local Republican politicians, like my councilmen and my mayors and people like that, who I see who I see making a difference. You don't really see the president making a difference in anything. They're mainly just there to be, a figurehead for the real powers that control the world. Um, the president really doesn't have that much power. I mean, it might say that they have power, but they don't really, They're just there
you
to,
said you wanted your kids
fill a
to
seat.
date Mexicans. If you could have your, would you let your daughter date Obama?
I wouldn't want her dating Obama, but my youngest daughter does date a black fella who I really like. Very polite
You went straight
gentleman.
to a black fella. I was talking about Obama.
No, I'm just saying I'm not. There's someone in here that's accused me of being a racist in a roundabout way, and I don't think he's here tonight. But
Real quick, we'll slip in a Mike Pucci question. Bossman, your thoughts on Michael McIntosh, who, according to some, he's going to be running for president.
I just recently saw Michael McIntosh for the first time. He popped up on my Facebook page as a possible friend or whatever, however they say, a suggestion. And I watched about 3 minutes of a video he made and turned it off. So I have no opinion on
Why
Michael
did you turn his
McIntosh.
video off after 3 minutes? He didn't keep you. That's our
No, it
future
was
president.
very boring.
I once did say the same about McIntosh. I told him to get a light in his room and be a little bit more. What does Lindsay has a good question. What does everyone, now I don't know him, Lindsay, so this would be more for Reverend and Bossman. What does everyone think of RFK Jr.?
I agree with them on certain points, like his vaccine. Um, he's exposing the vaccine business, that they are extremely bad for kids. The Amish do not vaccinate their children, and they have zero autism in their community. Autism is caused by the amount of vaccines we bombard kids with, the mercury that used to be in them. Very horrible experiment that they've played with these vaccines. He is, from what I can remember, I think he is a member of the World Economic Forum, so I don't agree with him there. But I agree with a lot of what he has to say. I think I would have to hold my nose if I voted for him. I would hold my nose and vote for him if I were going to vote.
Reverend, any thoughts on RFK?
Not really. I mean, he's, in my opinion, he he talks out both sides of his head. And I don't really trust him. I mean, he's he seems to be anti, big business, but he seems to be taking cuts from big business too. So I don't know, man. I don't really have one thought on him one way or the other.
Jacob
Fair.
Waters had a good question. He says, "Boss man, in all seriousness, how do you balance the difference between charity and enabling?" I sort of answered that earlier, Jacob. I'm just commanded to be charitable to the poor, the widowed, and the orphans, and what they do with their money is between them and God. So if they use it on something I don't agree with, it's none of my business.
They mentioned the name Epstein. Are you a big fan of Epstein?
No, he's child trafficker. What they did with that is they would
I
invite
don't
these
really know
people.
what child trafficking means. That means they just take a baby and they sell it to the next man.
Well, there's that, and then there's the kidnapping of like young boys and girls, and they bring people into Epstein Island. They have sex with them, and it's they don't realize that it's being recorded if they're a politician, and then they can say, "Hey, we have this video of you having sex with a 10-year-old girl or a 10-year-old boy. If you don't do what we tell you to do, we're going to release this." So then our politicians are bought and paid for. So they have to do what they're told or else. That's what Epstein Island was all about.
Holy shit. I don't even know the story. I just, I didn't know
I
that
get
was
it.
what the dad was
I
going
get
to
it,
tell.
Jacob. I get it, Jacob. I understand the whole give a man a fish or teach him to fish. I think you can do both. There's just not a whole lot I can teach other than what they do with their heart and their soul.
Lindsay Mann
But
says he totally looks like Kennedy. Schmidt also wanted to know, were you a big Obama fan?
no, I couldn't
I don't
stand
know
him.
why. He said, as boss man, was he an Obama guy?
No. Had Obama done a few things that he said he was going to do, had he made them label our food as genetically modified when it is, or had he legalized weed across the board, I would have given him props for those two things. But I think he was a horrible president.
If Cheech Marion asked your daughter to marry him, how excited would you have been?
Cheech is a little old for my daughter.
But he's the right nationality.
Yeah.
Jacob, with that question you asked her though, my thought and the way I used to look at it is, am I really concerned about whether that person I give that money to is going to go buy bad things with it, or am I just trying to justify my stinginess by thinking that, well, if I don't give this person money, then they won't go out and buy drugs, not knowing that they could want to actually go out and buy food or something like that.
I've actually,
Since I asked Reverend this question, we'll ask you it. What's the smartest thing? And you could do me and Rev. What's the smartest thing you've heard me and Reverend ever say, and dumbest?
Wow, you put me on the spot here, like Rev.
Well, you could say anything. I don't care. I mean,
no. I'm just saying when you ask that, when you don't give us time. I'm just saying when you don't give us time to think about it, it's tough. That's what being on the spot.
You want to
means.
nibble on that for a couple minutes?
No. I may not be able to give you 3 of each, but
no, 3. Just give us 1 of each. Dumbest thing you ever heard me say, and smartest thing if there is anything.
Well, the dumbest thing I've heard you say is always with a Z and smoking without the E.
That's fair.
Because there's no E in smoking.
That's fair. You know what? And I never thought of that until Bossman and them told me that. But then I always liked the sound of it, so I still say it. So
yeah, I get it. As far as the smartest thing, I can't pinpoint things, but I can't give an example, but I think there are often times that you do give some sound advice on certain issues that I wouldn't give that turns out to be correct. So that there are things that you are more schooled at, more experienced at that I am, and you give better advice on certain things than I do.
Fair. I've heard that before, so you weren't the first person to say that.
Yeah.
What about Reverend? You don't got one, Reverend?
Rev, I think the dumbest thing I've ever heard Rev say is I was set up for failure. I wasn't trained properly.
That was true. I wasn't.
And then and Rev, the smartest thing I've heard Rev say is that Barkley needs to shut his mouth once in a while.
If you're gonna be dumb, you gotta be tough. That's the smartest thing I have.
I will say the smartest thing I ever heard Bossman say is, I'm not a parent, but I know this has been said many times, is when your kids are young, you better enjoy it because they grow up quick. Now, I'm not a dad. I just know that that's a smart thing I've heard many, dads say. So that might have been the smartest thing Bossman's ever said, I think, is when your kids are younger, because like he just said, he was trying to escape from being neglected, but he also was smart enough to say to people, you should spend time with your kids when they're young. Because you'll have all that time when they're older.
Yeah. So Poochie asked if that's a Trump poster on my wall. No, I'll try to get in there. That's a picture that my first wife had made. Those are my kids, 3 of my kids in Dolphin jerseys, because I'm a big Dolphin fan. That's when they were young.
All your kids were from the first wife?
3 were, and then the other 2 are adopted from my second wife. And they're the bookends, the oldest and the youngest, my 2 adopted.
I'd say the smartest thing I heard Reverend say was on the trans fat show. I just can't pinpoint, but he said a lot of smart things I mentioned.
And Jacob, you said you're a healthcare worker. I assume you could give people a lot of guidance when it comes to help. Believe it or not, Bossman is a very good counselor to other people, but Bossman could never help himself. So, yeah.
All right. Well,
Well said.
that might.
Is
I said
Jaywalks
I was
coming
trying
in?
to go an hour and a half. We pretty much did that here. Um, I can't think of any other questions I have.
No,
Where
no.
did the love for the Dolphins come from?
When I was about 4 or 5, maybe closer to 5, uh, football was on TV, and the Dolphins were still pretty good at that time, so they got a lot of airplay. And all my
Oh
friends,
yeah, we will tackle that, Alvin. Good,
all
good
my
point.
friends, all my friends loved the Steelers, and I hated the Steelers. And I saw the Dolphins play, and I was like, "That's my team." And I was so naive; I thought that the object of the game was for the quarterback just to throw the ball through the uprights. I didn't know the object of the game. But I had everything. I had Dolphin cowboy hat, Dolphin socks, Dolphin underwear, Dolphin shirts, sweatsuit. I had everything when I was growing up. So I've been a diehard fan for years. No MAGA hats, Mike Gucci. I don't have any MAGA hats. My son
Now,
does.
Blue Eyed Diva, how did you two meet?
So I was on your show, and there was this person called Blue Eye Diva. I'd never seen that name before, and I mean, I don't really want to. I'm not trying to put her stuff out there. She put it out there. She was talking about suicide. So because of me being suicidal my entire life, I reached out
And she
to her,
knew that. Damn.
and I reached out to her, and we talked. And I don't want to see anyone feel that way. So yeah, that's how
What
I.
broke you two up, though? Something broke it up where you ran away from her and you left
I
her in
just
the wind.
don't think you call someone, um, and
Wait a minute, wait a minute. You guys were talking about being suicidal together, but her calling you got you a little upset?
she called me about you guys not believing that a profile was Jake, and she was all upset about it. I'm like, this didn't need to be a phone call. It wasn't. It was a Discord call, and I'm like, this is just kind of weird.
Hello, Crystal. All right.
Now, okay, I just
I have
got a
nothing against her.
message. I just got a question submitted from the Great Hawaiian Punchaho, who wants to know: is it true that the West Virginia trips are really to steal away Giggle Pickles?
Giggle Pickles lives in a different state. She lives in Virginia. I'm in West Virginia.
It's close.
What was your favorite Giggle Pickles moment?
Oh, the first show was hilarious. Just the dead body, and uh, I and Bossman was pretty on with his comments that night. I have to admit, my comments were pretty funny, and she was getting very aggravated with me. And, yeah, I just thought it was a great show. I think it was the best show you've ever done.
Did you have a sexual attraction to her?
No, I'm like Chris Schmidt.
If she would have talked to you in Spanish, what would that sound like?
Probably gibberish.
Shout out to Giggle Pickles. We love you for life. Boss man, we
Heirs to the
thought
Dr. Pepper fortune.
What'd you say, Pesci?
No, I said Bossman at one time was attracted to her and Diva. He had to slice it down the middle. If you had to go with one, if you had to take one to Bojangles, who would you take?
I think I would go ahead and do that suicide thing.
Shit, I would have to pick one of them before I do suicide. Thank God I wasn't asked that question. Um, yeah, Reverend, anything else tonight?
No, I think we've probed into the mind of Bossman. It actually took a lot longer than I thought it was going to. I'm
Well, tonight
surprised you
it's
remember all this shit, Bossman.
well,
Yeah.
I knew we would do like an hour and a half. I always like to do these hour and a half between 2 hours. We did hour and 30 minutes. Schmidt had a couple good ones and he never popped in. He popped in with that dumb shit and he said he was going to ask a couple questions. He never did. Hope you're feeling better, Giggle Pickles, says Jacob Waters. Um, yeah, our prayers are in the hands of the pickles this evening. Um, if you're watching the stream, I will be ending this one, but I'll be starting up another one so I can go on Discord. Shit, did we
So,
get lost?
in closing, Pesci, I'd like to say a couple things.
Yeah, of course.
One thing that every one of my employees would tell me was, "We can't figure you out, boss." And I said, "Don't even try because I can't figure myself out." So,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
wasting your
Well,
time.
we're not going to dive. Okay, so basically, Puncho said, damn, did I miss the pine cone story?
Yeah, you did.
Without going into graphic things, once, and I'm going to ask you a question about this, Bossman. Thanks for reminding me, Punch. So, Bossman once claimed he was standing in a party, okay,
No. You're
with
mixing
some
it up.
guys that weren't his friends,
This is
okay?
not the true story. Pesci's embellishing it.
What do you,
Bossman
what do
was
you,
not there.
okay, well, first let me tell my version, and then you can tell your version, and then
Okay.
we'll let the fans decide. Okay, so let me tell you how Bossman made. So Bossman apparently was hanging around some guys somewhere. These guys started telling a tale. I'm not going to get too graphic, as Ken Bolin would say. But he said that these guys had sexual relations with this girl and they used a pine cone as the, we'll just say the ding-a-ling. Um, and Bossman claims these weren't his friends. Now, one time, why I bring this up was Puncho was talking about something Vince McMahon did. And Bossman goes, I got a story. And randomly came in and told us about a time where five guys violated a woman with a pine cone. Now, Bossman, you tell your version of where you heard this story and why you decided to tell it to us when when Pudgio was talking about Vince McMahon's story.
Okay. So here's the true story. Bossman did not go to parties very often. I can only remember going to one party, and I left uh, shortly after I got there because I didn't want to be around everybody drinking. Um, I did drink in private with my neighbors, but not in front of my friends.
Wait. So we can make sure you're telling the truth. This happened at what age?
I was in high school. Probably,
He
I
was
was
in high
probably
school, ladies and gentlemen. This is a guy who said he struggles with memory, but remembered a graphic story of this magnitude told when he was in high school. That
no
means he
Pesci.
probably told it his
Pesci.
whole life.
Pesci. I have
Yeah.
trouble with short-term memory. I can remember my fourth birthday party on. I remember details, and people are like, "How do you remember those things?" Everything you've ever done is stored in your brain. It's whether you can recall it or not. So I just have a very good long-term memory.
So where
Anyway,
were you? Where were you with these guys? You guys
okay.
were standing in a
So
corner.
so here's what happened. I was at home. I wasn't at the party, but my friend had this party at his house, and there was a girl there who was very loose. Let's say she slept with a lot of people,
You told us these weren't your friends
and
though at the time, and you just called them a friend.
no. I said my friend had a party.
I'm
My friend had this party, and upstairs in either his bedroom or his sister or brother's bedroom, someone's bedroom. These other guys that weren't my friends took this girl and they all had sex with her. Well, she passed out. So these guys, being the jerks that they were, went outside and they got a pine cone and they assaulted her with this pine cone and left it in. And they left it in such a way that when she had to pull it out, it would open up. Very, very disturbing story.
All right.
The
That
reason
last part was the worst.
the reason I told the story is because Punch was telling a story about Vince McMahon saying that he always fantasized about shoving dried leaves, in his cousin's vagina. That's why I told the story.
Thank you to Sir Hawaiian Punch-O for the Vince McMahon story.
So that's why I told it, because it was similar to that story.
It was like not similar because that story, like the thought of it was like, Jesus. And for him to remember that. And then when Bossman told us the story, he referred to my friends. They were his friends. And
I
I'm
never
like,
said
what
my
kind of fucking
friends.
you got? He goes, you know what? They weren't my friends.
I said my friend had a party, but the guys that did it weren't my friends.
Hello, Nicole. Shout out to you, sweetheart.
Hey, Pesci, I'm gonna go put my kid to bed, and I will meet you in Discord in a little bit for some Fortnite.
Okay. Later, Reverend.
All right, boss man. It was good to see you.
Yep.
I'm sure I'll talk to you again in a little
Yep.
bit. Damn good show, buddy. Almost as good as mine.
No one beat yours, Rev. Except Giggle Pickles.
We'll be back later.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wait, let me let Reverend out. Ladies and gentlemen.
So I wanted to say a few things closing, Pesci.
Sure. Go ahead.
So like I said, Bossman's a difficult guy to figure out. Don't even try. On the show, if you met David Snyder in person, he would be a very different person than Bossman. Bossman is more of a character. I'm way different in my personal life. And I'll probably get my man card taken away for this, but I do love all of you. And if I was near you, I would do anything I could for you. And I do pray for each and every one of you every single day.
If you can, yeah, you could mail me your man card at 3142 Brookshire Road. Just make sure you write down Rev Robbins.
Yep.
Good stuff, says Gonzo. BC, hello if you're here, says Nicole. Thank you, everybody, for watching tonight. We had a good turnout. The Kenichis were here. The Waz were here. Mountain Timer says, good show, boss man.
Yep. I love you, Brad. I pray for you every day.
If you could give any advice to anybody out there, what would be your advice, boss man, in closing?
My advice would be extremely humble and be very generous with your money and your time.
He's a class act, Brad. Brad could learn a lot from Boss Man, says Mike Pucci. Jacob Waters says, good stuff, Boss Man. And Mountain Timer says, I agree, Pucci. Shout out to Brad, ladies and gentlemen, to the 19 in the build. God bless you. And don't worry, Gonzo, there was only chicken scratch on the clipboard. You think I really wrote down all that stuff? No, that's my food card notice. I did have a few notes jotted down. I'll read you my notes because my notes sound funny when you read them backwards. Here was my notes coming into the show. Countries, marriage, Nick Wayne, words to describe, accomplishment, Mexicans, wife's words to describe, white people food, Mexican stuff. Ask him more. Ask him why he hates white people. Remember Schmidt's question. And that's pretty much it. Those were my notes going into the show tonight. We were able to turn it into a hour 40. And we appreciate all the feedback from the people. And Kenny Bolin, if you're out there, we won tonight. Thank you, and we'll see you on the part 2 of the Pesci Power Hour over in the gaming side of things, where we hopefully join Reverend and Ponchaho in France. Thank you, and any other last words, boss man?
Yep. Goodbye, everybody.
Salute. Say one for the say ones, and God bless, and Godspeed, Spider-Man. Love you.